So, Oliver Lewis, you're going to be representing Reform, or you are representing Reform UK here in Montgomeryshire and Glyndwr. Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm an early career academic and author. My first book was published last year about George Orwell. In the universities, I teach history and politics. I've lived in Montgomery for 6 years. I just randomly drove through Montgomery in the region and fell in love with it almost instantaneously. And all across the county, all the exploration I've done of our county has shown to me what a beautiful part of the world this is and how little advocacy it has at a national level. So I'm all about pre-Montgomeryshire on the map.
In your literature, you've said that Reform UK will stop Montgomeryshire being a forgotten corner of Wales and the UK. So what is Reform UK intending to do for Montgomeryshire and Glyndwr?
Well, I'll give you a very good example of this. On Friday, I did the BBC Leaders debate in Cardiff. I had a very nice conversation with the First Minister, both before and after. And at the end, Jane Dodds witnessed this, so she can verify what I'm saying. He said to me, "Where are you travelling back to?" And I said, "Montgomery." And he said, "Oh, but where in Montgomery?" i.e. he referred to Montgomery as a collective noun, as if it was the county. He didn't know that there was a Montgomery in Montgomeryshire, or that it was our county town. And that, for me, just epitomised the lack of awareness of Montgomeryshire and Mid Wales generally in the Welsh political class. You know, Mid Wales has been neglected, not just for decades, probably centuries, and we need to change that.
As relative newcomers to the political scene,
yes.
What are you hearing on the doorsteps of Welshpool, of Newtown and villages around?
It's quite an incredible response. I mean, people spontaneously come up to me and say, "You've got our vote. Definitely going to put your cross by you." There is a little bit, I think, of a political revolution happening. Not before time, I might add. And we are now in the polls with the second party of Wales. We're polling 17%. The Conservatives are now on 15%. So in effect, a vote for the Conservatives is now a vote for Labour. A vote for Reform is a vote for Reform. If enough people in this county and in the Glyndwr area vote for me, you will get a Reform Party MP.
The party is obviously strongly connected to Brexit. It's 8 years now since Brexit. Has it gone well?
Well, you must remember, Brexit was never the policy of the UK government. It was a policy of the people. It was the people that voted for Brexit. So the British state has really been tying itself in knots because it doesn't really know how to address what I view to be a cry for help in 2016. It was a cry for help from the forgotten peoples of our country, particularly in the regions and the provinces, places just like Mid Wales, which of course was majority Brexit. So really we have a generation of politicians who don't know how to deal with the expression of dissatisfaction they've received. So what Reform is all about, saying we understand you, we get your concerns, we respect your intelligence, more importantly, and we will do our damned hardest to make sure that we address what drove your vote for Brexit. I actually don't think we need to leave the European Union. I was actually a Remainer, and I very briefly worked for Britain Stronger in Europe, so I get all the arguments for staying in the European Union. But as I say, it was really an expression of dissatisfaction at the failures of our domestic political class, and that's what we need to deal with.
Immigration's a key debate and topic of this election. Obviously, Reform UK has strong immigration policies, but here in Montgomeryshire, immigration has been a positive impact in terms of employment and people moving into the area to support the economy. So where's your stance as the Montgomeryshire and Glyndwr representative on immigration?
I think we definitely see the big picture. So since the 1991 census, Britain has immigrated 12 million people. The British state has never invested properly in public services. The NHS was created in 1947. It took them 15 years to build the first NHS hospital. The British state does not really invest properly in our schools and our hospitals. So when you pile on 12 million additional people to infrastructure that is designed probably for 50 million people, you're going to get chaos. And I'm afraid we have that chaos in every part of the UK, including here in Mid Wales. Yes, immigration has benefited particularly our tourism and agricultural sectors here, and we're very thankful for it. But the pressure on the built infrastructure, particularly our hospitals and the waiting list situation. There was a very interesting interview of Tony Blair in the 2005 general election. And the lady in the audience was saying, "I can't get an appointment in 2 days. This is so awful. I'm having to wait 3 days. I mean, 3 days? I mean, these days in my surgery in Montgomery, I mean, it's a 2-week wait, sometimes a month, sometimes 6 weeks. So I'm afraid it's just that it's the capacity question. And so we have to bring immigration down. This doesn't actually need new laws. All the laws are there. They just need to be enforced properly.
On the NHS, Reform UK says you think you can eradicate NHS waiting lists within 2 years.
Yes.
Now, surely that's just an election.
No, not at all. I mean, the first thing is that in France or Germany, I mean, they wouldn't know what a waiting list was. I mean, we've become accustomed to very poor and sloppy standards from our health service. So our initiative is to give vouchers. So if you need an operation, if you need a hip replacement, you get a voucher and it's your choice where you use it. You may even be able to take it to France and get your hip operation in France. You might remember New Labour experimented with a similar scheme in the early 2000s. It was very successful. So, you know, we're not challenging the principle of the NHS being free at the point of use. We just want to make the NHS work better, and that's a good thing.
And social care. There's a lot in the manifesto about setting up a royal commission within the first 100 days to come up with a new plan, but we don't have anything in the manifesto of what might be in that plan. So
no, I mean, obviously a manifesto, and realistically, we're not going to form a government on the 4th of July. I hope we form the official opposition. I hope we get over 100 MPs. Who knows the way the polls are going? But what I'm about here in Montgomeryshire is making sure we have enough physical capital in the health service. We need a proper general hospital in Newtown. We need to stop being as reliant as we are on the English health service, which is, again, a crazy situation, which again points to the neglect of this region down in Cardiff. And once we have more capacity, we have more hospital beds, the waiting list can also come down. So it's a twin approach. It's making sure we introduce this voucher scheme to ensure that people can get treated faster, and that we also increase the fixed capacity of the NHS. An amazing statistic, since Welsh Labour took control of the NHS in Wales, they've cut the number of hospital beds by a third. There were 15,000 hospital beds in Wales in 1999. There are now just over 10,000. So you've got more people with fewer hospital beds. It's crazy. So we need to address that.
Net zero.
Yes.
Most of the parties are sort of trying to get the message of how quick they can reach net zero in the UK, and yet Reform UK is talking about scrapping it.
Absolutely, yeah, and saving the
taxpayer
20
billion. I'm seeing
30 billion, saving the taxpayer £30 billion.
Is it a wise move in these times?
Well, we are actually dedicated environmentalists. Okay, so we believe in absolute preservation and protection of our wetlands, of our forestry, of plastic consumption. So we're all behind all of those things. What our position is saying, well, it does not make sense for us to deindustrialise and to put our lowest paid workforces on the dole because we're closing our manufacturing capacity, and it's not going away. We're still going to need steel from Port Talbot. All we're doing is shifting the manufacturing site to Mumbai and importing it back. So of course the CO2 emissions go up because India has far weaker controls on environmental pollution. So the pollution is worse. You then have the cost of the transportation from India. Shipping is all diesel, filthy diesel. So there's more carbon emissions from that. So we're just trying to be realistic about it. And my main concern is that is it a price worth paying in the short term to reduce our living standards so much to ensure an unknowable future? Climate has always changed. 10,000 years ago, there was an ice sheet about a mile thick standing just above us. Okay, climate changes naturally. We have to accept that. The key thing for us is addressing what we can control, what is within our gift to control. And for me, as I say, it's preservation of our wetlands, our forests, and reducing plastics consumption.
Finally, we have what's called the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
We get in the lift together on the first floor and getting out at the 10th. You've got 30 seconds to convince me.
Are there only 10-storey buildings in Welsh?
We're somewhere. But basically, how can you convince me to vote Reform UK in 30 seconds?
Well, in essence, as I say, our political class is broken. Most of our institutions are broken. We need a fresh group of people with fresh ideas. And that's really what I hope I bring to the table with, as I say, backed up by pretty decent academic research in terms of how we deal with many of these problems.